Hello and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Kim McGuinness, who is the crime commissioner for police and crime commissioner for Northumbria. Welcome, Kim.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I think we met last year sometime at Gosforth Park Hotel at I think it was the
Asian Business Awards.
Yeah, is it called ABC? Because I couldn't try and think what the C.
It is. It's called ABC. It was a great night, wasn't it?
It was. What's the C stand for? Do you know?
Connections.
Connections. All right. Because I was looking. I even googled it and I couldn't find it.
Connections.
All right. So, and obviously you agreed that you would come on. We've both been very busy, so we finally got around to it. First of all, I'd like to thank you and your sort of staff, because unbeknownst to us, that you put us forward for some funding from the suicide prevention funding, and very grateful for that. That's come through, and that's gone towards people's training and stuff like that about suicide. I sort of volunteer for the police negotiating team, so I went and showed them our documentary, because we made a documentary, an hour-long documentary. Showed them that, and then I sort of said that if in Sunderland, if there was ever a veteran that was sort of on the bridge, or if there was any kind of thing that you needed a veteran to come along to, that I would do it. So thanks very much. You really appreciate that.
No problem. And it does make such a big difference, doesn't it, being able to talk on that level, veteran to veteran.
Yeah.
And I think actually having worked in the field, I think in many ways it's true of all people, that if you can be on the same level and on the same wavelength, it's really helpful. But I think there's something really particular about veterans that it works so well, and it's so fundamental and so important.
I think just a bit of common ground between anybody, like you said, with any people. You know, you could be a joiner, it could be anything. You know, just if you got a little bit of common ground. And I think, because I went through a bad time myself, and if I had someone to speak to me and remind me of the good times, then I wouldn't have ended in the situation I was. That was the type of thing that's why I've sort of made the model of VIX the way it is, the way I think things should be run. And I mean, it works really well in Sunderland, and there's no reason it can't be spread out around the country. I mean, in reality, or in me dreams, I would say, rather than reality, I would like our model to be used in every city in the country. That would be me main aim, I suppose.
Oh, well, at least we know where you're going.
I'll just be staying in Sunderland. The model can travel. I'm not travelling. I like it in Sunderland.
You like it.
But we were lucky enough to hire a building. So if I give you a little bit of background, I started VIX 2 years ago on my own in January 2018 with just a £10 pay-as-you-go mobile phone, nothing else. And now we've progressed to a 4-story building with staff. We have a drop-in where before COVID, clients could come in, have some breakfast, then go to circuit training, come back, wash the clothes, have a shower, watch Netflix all day, have the dinner, keep busy all day. Then the next floor up is an emergency apartment, which we can house up for a family of 4 for about 3 days. So I managed to get them housed. The next floor is a therapy centre. We do Reiki, mindfulness, art therapy, music therapy, NLP, any kind of therapy. We're having a counsellor once a week coming in from Anxious Minds as well to speak to clients. And the top floor is a podcast studio, which before COVID we would use, but now because of COVID we've got to use the Zoom. So I mean, we've sort of came quite far in a short space of time. I'm up to sort of my 5-year plan now at 2 years, so it's moving a lot quicker than I thought.
It's moving quickly. I can't wait to come and see it when all this is over.
It'd be great. I mean, we've just opened the last week where one person could come in now.
Brilliant.
One client, but we have like a yard and then a bit of parking space, so we're cordoning that off, and we've got furniture, and we'll probably get about 10 people in with social spacing, as long as the weather's all right.
Are you able to use your flat still?
No, we haven't used it at all because COVID happened, and then, to be honest, I can get people housed quite quickly. We're in a partnership with Gen 2, and a lot of local landlords and a housing association. So the quickest I've getting someone housed from street homeless is 15 minutes.
Amazing.
To actually go and get a flat viewing. That never happens all the time, but I mean, this week we've managed to get 2 people housed, and one's moving in Friday, and we have lock-ups with all the furniture in, so we can sort of fill the house full of furniture straight away.
I do think that COVID's shown how quickly that part of the system can move in terms of getting people housed, and I do hope that's something that continues beyond all of the beyond the crisis itself, that we take some of the learning from how quickly we've been able to house people who are rough sleeping or who are homeless, because it is much quicker than it was prior, and I think we've got to keep on with that momentum, because we it's a civilized society. We should have a home for everyone.
Oh, everyone should have a home, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's plenty of houses that are not getting used. That's what you've got to think, There's no point in building things like homeless hostels when there's houses that can be used.
Yeah.
But the other side to that is, though, you don't solve homelessness by just putting somebody in a house.
No, you don't.
We give sort of like a whole wraparound support, and we give them sort of things to do every day, all up till Saturday afternoon. So they'll have Saturday afternoon after the football, they'll have that off, and then they'll have Sunday off. So really, if they want to do something, and come every day and do something. We have different therapies. We have art groups. We do stuff with their Sunderland AFC at the Foundation of Light. We do stuff at the Glass Centre, Sunderland University. All great stuff to keep people busy. And we find that all the fitness and the health and well-being stuff that we do, social prescribing wise, is much better than people taking tablets, drinking or taking drugs. It helps them a lot. Yeah,
activity is so good for you in so many different ways.
Yeah, well, we have a walking club called Ramblers Anonymous. We have a running club. We have we do circuit training 4 times a week, 3 times a week with one of our staff, and 1 time a personal trainer gives that time up for an hour to do it for free. So they can keep busy all the time, And
is that full-blown military style?
Yeah.
Circus.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Well, people
Look,
like
I might not volunteer to join in.
No, you can come and try, man. It's people just put in as much as they want to get out. So, if you can't do the stuff, you just take it easy. And the walking club, that's for all types of abilities. We made it like that. So if people want to walk a bit faster, then other people will stay with the ones that want to go slower. The running club, it's the same type of thing. Some of the great things we've had is people who were taking drugs, drinking, and really bad with mental health started running, and they've stopped all that. I mean, one lad, he's even stopped smoking, which I never thought he would do, because he'd give everything else up, and he stopped smoking as well. And now he was going to try and do the Great Northumbria, but it's obviously been cancelled. So next year...
it just gives him longer to train.
Next year, well, to be honest, I had stuff booked in all year. Great stuff like festivals, holidays, and everything. Everything's been cancelled. The one thing that hasn't been cancelled up to now is the Amsterdam Marathon that I'm doing, and I haven't trained. So I thought it would just get cancelled. October.
Oh, you might have to do it.
I know. I got an email yesterday saying, "Oh, congratulations, it's still on at the minute." And I was thinking, the one thing that I wanted cancelling.
What have you got? So June, July, August, September, 4 months.
Yeah, I'll be it. I did the Great North Run without any training.
I've been doing that the Great North Run, Great Run solo.
Yeah.
So you set yourself a challenge for a month, 4 weeks. And I'm not a runner at all. And the first one I did was 50 kilometres in a month. And now I'm going to do 75 kilometres. I started that on Monday, not been for a run yet, best catch up. But I found that really, really good, a really good way of kind of still doing something, although it's not the same as the kind of camaraderie of doing it in a group, is it?
Yeah. Well, I had a serious back injury, and I got told I would never run again. Wow. So I decided to do that couch to 5k. Managed to do that. Did 5k 3 times, and I thought I'd go for the Sunderland 10k. I did that, and then I did the Sunderland half marathon and the Great North Run, and I thought, I'll just double it to a marathon. It can't be that hard.
Why not?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought.
Just like that.
Well, I thought people would get dressed up and do it. It can't be that hard, I'm saying that, I thought, because I didn't train for the Great North Run, I just drank non-alcoholic lager for 2 weeks. and I thought other people could do it, and I did it, and it killed us, to be honest. So I've decided I better start training. Like,
every time I've done some sort of sponsored run, there's always somebody in a ridiculous costume overtakes me, and I think, oh, for goodness sake.
I
can't believe I've just been beaten by that person in that costume.
Yeah, there was people in there with fridges on the back, with wheelie bins, with a bike. People, I had to beat them. That's why I think I was so tired, like, at the end.
My other half and one of his best mates did it last year, dressed as Spitfire.
Did they? Oh, why we're on about your other half? So, I don't know. Are you married yet? Did you get married?
No, we had to cancel that.
That's a COVID, right? So, your other half is in the RAF. Yeah.
He is, yeah.
So, are you planning on, when you get married, moving to be a RAF wife and moving with him, or no? Wise idea.
Nah, he so at the moment he's based at Boma, so obviously that's really convenient, and he's been there since we met, so he's had a long stint at Boma, but he's heading down to a tour at Whitehall next, and so it's not too bad to commute, London and back in the week. But actually, I think it's more and more common, whether you're military or not, for somebody to be commuting, and we have much more flexible, like, working lifestyles, don't we? But no, yeah. I'm very, very deeply rooted in this region, and you drag me out here kicking and screaming.
Have you been? I love the Northeast. Have you been up to Bulmer?
Oh yes, many times. Yeah, it's fantastic.
There was a guy, John Richardson. He was working there, and he invited us up. So we took some of the clients up and seen the secret bunker and stuff. It was really
did the bunker, yeah.
Yeah, it was like James Bond, wasn't it?
So Dave manages the bunker. That's what he does.
Oh, does he? Oh, well, yeah. He'll know John Richardson.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. And it is a very, as you know yourself, it's a very small world, isn't it? Everyone knows everyone. But yeah, it is fantastic. And actually, I think it's really, really good that we still have that sort of size of a military presence and facility in our region. Because, of course, we know that the vast majority of intake from, the biggest area for recruitment for the military is in the Northeast. And so it's important that we have that represented here.
It is. Well, I think Sunderland has the largest intake per population in the country.
That's right. Yeah.
That's why we have so many veterans. That's why a service like ours is needed, to be honest.
Yeah. And also because the Northeast is the sort of place where, no matter where you've ended up, most people I know from the Northeast want to live here, want to be back here. I lived away for 5 years and I was desperate to come back, and you can totally understand why if people leave military service, they want to come back to where they're from.
Yeah, well, I love Sunderland. I love everything about Sunderland. I lived in Ireland, Winchester, Ireland, and then Berlin when the wall was coming down, and I much prefer Sunderland. Like, people that sometimes have not very nice things to say about Sunderland, to be honest, but I love it. Like, it's right next to the beach,
It's right next to the beach, coastal city. It's coming up. There's some great places. Great university, great cost of living. I think we're very, very lucky in this region with everything we've got.
Oh, I do as well. Do you want to explain to people, to me as well, really, what a police crime commissioner is all about? Because I have Googled it and had a look.
Oh yeah, so I was elected in July, so last year, and I cover the area of the force, so that's Berwick to Sunderland. So you're kind of in the bottom of the bottom end of the patch. As it kind of goes into Durham, and there's there's two ways of explaining it. There's the way that what it would say on the government website. So I'll go through that, and then I'll also tell you kind of actually the way that I do that and the way I see that working. But I think first of all, they talk about accountability. So I hold the force to account, make sure that everything's as it should be. If there's mistakes made, then it's my job to pick those up with the chief on behalf of the people. If there's praise to be given, then obviously it's my role to do that as well, which I find really important, because I think our cops do a fantastic job on the whole. And I think that it sounds like scrutiny and accountability always sounds like a very negative thing, but actually the way I look at it is myself and the Chief Winton are a left and a right arm of the same organisation. We should always be looking at for the same goal, trying to achieve the best for the people of Northumbria. And I think that is exactly how it is. So I think that's kind of one part of it. I am the people's representative to the police. So I represent the people of Northumbria to the police. And that means that obviously I get a lot of letters, emails, texts, phone calls, Facebook messages from people about, sometimes, like I say, praise, you know, they've had a fantastic experience. It's important for the force to hear that, but sometimes things haven't been as they should be. And I have to pick that up. Also, I'm there to listen to what people want from their force, turn that into a police and crime plan, and then help the force to deliver it. And the way that I do that is, and we've talked about this before, we talked about, I'm with pre-COVID, I'm out and about all the time, you know, meeting community organisations and groups, residents, charities, businesses, schools, you name it. You know, I want to be as far and wide in this region as possible so that I actually understand what people want. And quite shortly, we're going to start on a big consultation for a police and crime plan. And so I'll be in touch with you, trying to ask your service users and veterans to help tell me what they need from the force. So that's another bit. I manage the money. So both the big money that comes from central government, and when I say big, not big enough, but you know, plus the bit of the little bit on the council tax, which nobody watching will have ever noticed before. Now they'll all notice it, but the police and crime precept, which is kind of what you pay towards your policing in the area, and I set that in consultation with the people. And the reality is that money that comes down is all about meeting the priorities, but it's also for operation. It's all of the operational policing. So once we've had the conversation with government, we've lobbied them, told them that we need resources in our area, I hand that budget over to Winton, and he allocates it operationally, and we work together on it to meet the priorities. And obviously I'm responsible for making sure they stay on track. And then commissioning is the other really, really big bit. So I commission all of the victim services for Northumbria, and that's everything from kind of your light touch victim services, where perhaps you have been a victim of a crime. It might not affect you long term, but you need a bit of help getting through the witness process or working with the force, so all of that, right through to the really specialist services. So for example, victims of domestic or sexual violence. You know, if you're a family and somebody's been murdered or something really awful like that, where there's very specialist services, we commission those as well. I think there's two other bits that you wouldn't get written down somewhere, but I think are absolutely my job. Actually, I think there's three. There's three other bits that I would say that I would say that are my job that you wouldn't get elsewhere. I think that actually this maybe this is actually four. So no, another thing is I also have, I'm able to distribute pots of money to prevent crime and to stop crime or to reduce crime. And so, for example, at the moment we've got our violence reduction unit, which I established straight away. It was exactly what I wanted to do when I was elected, which was all around working to reduce and prevent violent crime in the area, because you can't arrest your way out of crime. You can't always be reactive. We've got to get back to the beginning and understand why people are doing it and stop them from doing it. So on to those three other bits. I think I'm a lobbying force, and not just for money, but for other resources as well. So for example, the beginning of this COVID thing, it was so important to this force that they had testing and they had the right amount of PPE, and they were able to operate in that environment. But also, you know, they've had 10 years of austerity, so we needed to make sure that there was more money in the force. So I work with government to get those things for our area, and that's really important. I think we talked about scrutiny, but I think sometimes it's really important for someone to say, you know what, the force does a cracking job. They are individuals who really care about their communities, and someone has to say thank you to them and has to do it publicly, and I'm very happy to do that. And then finally, I think it's really important. I do what I do in this region because I love the place, I love the people. I think it's the best place to live anywhere in probably the world, but certainly in this country. Very biased, but that's what I think. And so I think championing the region and the people of our region and promoting that on a national stage is definitely something that I do as well.
Well, I think championing where you live is a brilliant thing. You know,
Yeah,
too
you have to.
many people knock where they live, but you can move if you don't like it. You know, you can move to other places if you don't like it. Let the people who
Yeah.
like it live here.
And you know, people here have got a real reputation for being welcoming, friendly. It's a homely place, and I love that. That's what people think about people from the northeast. I think that's just about the nicest thing, nicest reputation you can have, isn't it? To be friendly and welcoming and inclusive, and
people love visiting. People love visiting.
Oh yeah.
Going back to sort of violent crime and things, we have a lot of clients that have been in trouble with the police. Some that have been in prison for violent crime. I mean, myself included. I've been done for violence before. When you leave the forces, you've sort of been trained to kill people. That's kind of in you. If you're mixing that with substances or alcohol as well, and you've also got a mental illness, you know, I think what happens a lot of my clients and a lot of veterans are going through the system without people doing the checks to make sure that there isn't a reason why they've done that. So I'll end up with people going to prison when really they're suffering from PTSD or other mental illnesses. You know, I think if anything can be done about that, that would be a good start. But also, I think because of my sort of the trouble I had, it was more than 10 years ago now with the police, and I've managed to come through that and make that into a positive from a negative, and there's no reason why other people can't do that.
So there's many people who do.
To set something up like for veterans to sort of come out of the criminal justice system to go on to better things is great. I mean, on the other side of that, we've got a member of staff who used to be in the police, so they're not all bad.
I don't think. I mean, there's a couple of things actually that we're already doing, which I would love to be able to expand, because I do think that the system has to recognise people's lived experiences. And so, for example, at the moment, if you're in custody, you will be asked if you're a veteran and you'll be offered support. And I think that's, specific support. And I think that's really important. That's something that the force does. And I'm really glad that they do. And we really back that. And then also through the Violence Reduction Unit, we have funded veterans programs, not with veterans in crisis, but
not yet.
We're working with you in other ways.
Yeah.
But exactly what you're talking about, which is recognizing what are the factors surrounding that behavior and how do we prevent it from happening, and how do we address, like you say, things like housing and debt and family and violence and poverty and whatever else there might be going on in that person's life, to make sure that their life is improved and therefore they don't have a reason to commit crime, because as your whole thing is about being happier and healthier and therefore better off. And I think that's it's as simple as that for me.
How long do you stay in office?
So rightfully by now I should be married. I should be either re-elected or unelected.
One out of two is good, man.
But the election in May was postponed because of the COVID crisis. Understandably, we certainly couldn't have realistically expected people to participate in the ballot in May. And certainly we couldn't have been knocking on people's doors and talking to them about the election. That wouldn't have been okay. So the election now is going to be May 2021. So I am standing again. I love this role. I think we're making a big difference. I'm really proud of what we've done so far. And so I'll be standing again in May. And then normally that would have been a 4-year term. So it would have been 2020 for 4 years, but now it'll be 2021 for 3 years to get us back onto the normal cycle.
So you still might be about in 3 years' time then?
I hope so.
With a bit of luck, because I want you to come visit.
Well, I can hopefully come visit a lot sooner than 3 years' time. But I think I'm, like I say, I'm really proud of the pace at which we're making change. And we are seeing, but we're seeing crime come down. We're seeing violent crime come down. We're seeing first-time entrants into the criminal justice system. So that tends to be our young people. We're seeing that reduce. We're seeing improvements with our figures on veterans and so on. So the programs do work. We just have to stick at it. And everything has to be, we can't think short-term. Yes, at the moment, I'm only in office until May. And then after that, 3 years if I'm re-elected. But I want our prevention plans and the work that we're doing to be, you know, 10, 15, 20-year plans that really improve the region. And, you know, I think we have to look at that big picture. That's the job.
Definitely. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for coming on. Is there anything you want to say before we get off?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to all of our veterans. We're just out of Armed Forces Week, and obviously during that week we celebrate our armed forces and our veterans. And you know, yes, some of the charities that we work with, the charity that you work with, deals with people who have come out of the forces and have a difficult time. But you know, there's the range of veterans that have done incredible work representing our country, supporting people at home and abroad. We should be saying thank you for their service to every single one.
Cheers. Well, today is actually the 104th anniversary of the start of the Battle of the Somme, which is the bloodiest battle that's ever taken place. So 20,000, just under 20,000 young soldiers died on the first day. So
this is it. People put themselves in the face of danger for other people, and I think that is, like I say, something that we have to say thank you for. I did not know it was that anniversary though.
No, see,
That'll be my fact of the day for the rest of the day.
I'm always on the ball. Just Google it. Right, thank you very much for coming on, and
thank you so much.
Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yes, definitely. Have a good day.
Cheers again. Bye.